I know she's cheating on me.
What makes you think that?
I just know. I mean, I can smell it when she comes home late from work.
I'm still gonna go through with this?
It's $250,000 cash. Just sitting there waiting. You know what he's thinking?
What?
He thinks I'm having an affair.
So you're not having an affair?
No.
If you're doing anything to hurt him, you stop.
Go ahead. I won't feel it. I don't feel anything anymore.
Emily says that she loves you and that she's been faithful.
Emily says? Well, it's no wonder you've had trouble believing me. I mean, did it ever occur to you, maybe, just maybe, she might be lying?
I don't want to die.
Burke believed me, okay? She was having an affair, and he did put a stop to it.
I just want to hear the brother you got there.
So what does it matter? So do it. Oh!
Mortal Passions, starring Zach Galligan from Gremlins 1 and 2, and David Warner from Time Bandits. Murder was only the first of her sins. Mortal Passions.
Welcome to They Called Us a Movie, testing the strength of friendships one terrible movie at a time. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and other podcast services by searching They Called Us a Movie, and find us on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. Welcome back to They Called Us a Movie. This is Anthony Del Vecchio. With me as always is Dan Aquino and Mark Meyer. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hey, friends.
Hello, everyone. I realized something this weekend. Had a little mini family reunion type thing at an amusement park, King's Dominion down in Virginia, here. And I realized that I haven't been to an amusement park in a very long time, because one of my first thoughts was, what do I do with my cell phone when going on like roller coasters and stuff? And I was just like, yeah, back when I did go to amusement parks a lot, because I haven't been to Disney like you have, Dan, and stuff like that. Recently, it just didn't click in my head, that I didn't have this device the last time I really went around riding roller coasters. So it was kind of like one of those things of how much like time marches forward, but you don't realize how much it's gone. And yeah, so that was a pretty fun realization. And also I realized that it's also, my eyesight has gotten much worse, that because I've always had to take my glasses off, and I always put it to the side and all between the rides. But now I could like barely, like I can only see clearly like maybe 3-4 feet in front of me before it gets blurry. So it helps on some roller coasters because you don't see anything coming. So you don't get scared right away or anticipating anxiety. But yeah, so it was fun.
Mark,
yeah.
Pockets exist.
Yeah,
I was going to say, did you do what we all do, is you hold it in your mouth during the entire ride? That's the safest place.
Yeah, I was thinking, because you mentioned like, oh, Dan, you go to Disney. Like, yeah, I keep my phone in my pocket. And
yeah, but the shorts I had, the pockets were pretty loose.
Mark's walking around with a fat pair of Jenkos with big ass pockets.
Loose pocket Mark.
Yeah.
Well, that's what cargo shorts are for, Mark.
Yeah.
Put them in your cargo pockets.
Button them up.
Button them up.
You would think I tried, being a not much of a shorts wearer, as I tend to wear jeans just about all the time. So I decided, hey, I'm on vacation, I'll wear shorts, realizing that all the shorts I bought are just traditional.
Wait a minute.
Mark cut loose this weekend by wearing shorts.
I don't want to. I feel like I'm piling on here. Your idea of kicking back was wearing shorts.
Well,
I find it adorable. I think it's so cute. It's like, you know what? I'm on vacation. I'll break out the good shorts.
Yeah.
Had to go to the storage unit to break those out, right?
Oh, I love it. Mark is just he's such a smart guy, but also a very simple guy. You know what I mean? Like it's the simple things in life that really like driving 100 miles down a straight road. It's like this is great. I aspire to be that kind of happy.
I'm not even sure if I've ever met Shorts Mark.
I'm sure we have, right? Maybe we just never noticed.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
we think
it's
it's a
rare.
normal thing for a person to do in the middle of August, is to wear shorts. And Mark was like, "I think it's time. I don't need to be business casual, Mark, this weekend.
Yeah.
I can be kicking back, Mark. Drop that G on kicking. Just be kicking back, Mark."
Do your nieces were like, oh shit, here comes Uncle Mark with the shorts. Now it's time.
I don't even think they realize it. I think my sister more teased me again because she's been around me longer.
Sure.
Everybody says, "Here comes trouble."
Yeah.
Look
Yeah,
at this guy.
Yeah, but the upside of not going with the jeans is obviously it's a little bit cooler for sure. The downside,
You think?
the downside is I have 14 mosquito bites on my legs right now,
Yeah.
so
That's
that
the
would
give
not
and
have been there if I didn't have my jeans on.
it feels like Mark is like explaining it as if he just discovered what shorts are.
I feel like Mark is mansplaining shorts to us just a little bit.
Now, did you know it's half of pants?
Some people, yeah, wow. Some people call them short pants.
Before we went on that tangent, the thing I was going to say about shorts is I realized the last time that I actually bought shorts is when I went on my cargo shorts are no longer cool. I'm going to get adult shorts that only have 2 pockets in them.
For sure.
You got to do that. You got to hit up Target. They got the ones with like the drawstring. Those are it.
Yeah.
Above the knee.
I'm a big Old Navy guy.
Yeah.
I get my shorts from Old Navy.
Yeah.
Relatively decent
Also a good place to get shorts.
Yeah. But I feel as if those places were, like Mark was saying, were looked down upon when you were in high school. Like, oh, you shop at Old Navy. It's not very fashionable. But now as an adult, it's not so much about fashion as it is about price and comfort. So it's like, fuck it, I don't care. Old Navy it is.
Yeah.
And the one fun thing from the weekend is I did do a roller coaster that had a 305-foot straight down drop. So
damn.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
That's a young man's game.
Nope.
Yeah.
Well, what was the name of the ride?
Project 305.
Oh man,
Oh,
that sounds like it's going to break down any second. It's like we're still testing this one out.
I
That
did actually have
like,
to close it for a little bit because of wind.
Oh yeah, that's like King of the Ka. You go there like 30% of the time. It's open.
Mark, that ride sounds like it wants to take away women's reproductive rights.
It does.
Project 305. You got to go on Project 305.
I mean, it was in Virginia, so. But yeah, and that's the other thing that I found out is that I do enjoy roller coasters.
That makes one of us.
Yeah,
I like roller coasters. I'm a roller coaster guy.
Makes 2 years.
Well, now it's 2 against 1. How you like that, Ant?
Well, go on your death traps. I'll be sitting here, not dying, not getting flung off of the tracks.
With your feet firmly on terra firma.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, and my last thing is that I wish I would have taken video of this, but one of my cousins went on the roller coaster and doesn't really do rides much, and he was the first one off the roller coaster. And if there was a face that just said, "Nope, that's my last ride," this boy would have been like the cover photo of it. Just like, nope, not doing any of this again.
my favorite memory is convincing Jen to go on Tower of Terror with me one time. And she had a very similar reaction, Mark, where it was just like, that's it. No, never again. I'm done.
I'm down with Tower of Terror. Anything where I go upside down, or there's like the straps that come down on me, nope, fuck you.
Interesting. I didn't take you for a guy who wasn't into roller coasters.
I don't trust them. I don't trust the people that operate them. I don't trust them.
That's fair, because my sister operated roller coasters for a time being, and I would not trust my sister with much.
Yeah. So, well, next time, Mark. Oh, Mark, I can't wait until you're introduced to those pants that have the zippers halfway up, and you can just turn them into shorts.
I thought I was the coolest kid on the playground when I had those. Like, look, they're dual purpose. These things are the best thing ever.
I'm starting to think that, well, I know Mark went to a Catholic school, so he probably had a uniform. But I was picturing Mark in a public school at like recess with like a khakis and a polo shirt.
Sure.
I mean, that
brought his lunch in a briefcase.
Well, not a briefcase, but the no, that uniform was basically my high school, but it was because I was in a Catholic school and you had to wear polo shirts and khaki.
Yeah. It's much more fun thinking of you in a public school doing the same thing, like as a choice.
Right. Mark is the opposite of the guy who wears shorts when it's like freezing out.
Yeah, that's also insane. Fuck you, buddy. You know it's cold.
Right.
It gets off on people telling them that it's cold. It's too cold for shorts. I don't feel it. Fuck you. Yeah, you do.
It's definitely the highlight of that guy's day.
Yeah. I feel fine.
It's 20 degrees outside. Oh, I feel great.
Yeah.
I get hot naturally, so it's fine.
Yeah. I'm also wearing my Adidas flip-flops on with socks. Yep. And it's winter and I'm just walking through the slush with them and I'm acting like I'm not an asshole.
Yeah, definitely.
It got very specific there. But anyway, this week we watched a movie besides Mark trying roller coasters and learning about shorts. And this week was my pick, and I wanted to go the way of the erotic thriller because we haven't done one in a while, probably since Sins of Desire. I guess you could probably throw 50 Shades in there too, probably counts. But I wanted to do one, and I came across one that had an actor, Zach Galligan, from the hit film Gremlins as the lead. So I said, that's weird. Why don't we watch this? That movie is Mortal Passions from 1989. And the most noteworthy thing about this movie is that it has Zach Galligan from Gremlins in it. That's essentially it. But I want to hear where you guys come from. So, Dan, where you come from with Mortal Passions?
So this is a movie I've never heard of, but I'm very glad that you picked it. I was contemplating taking a week off just because the kid had been a little bit cranky and I was a little tired. Shocking. But once you described it as an erotic thriller, I was like, you know what? Yeah, we haven't watched one of these in a while. I gotta check it out. I'm happy I did because for a movie that is an hour and a half long, where nothing really happens in it, I was kind of like enthralled by it, and I was surprised to be that way because no one really stands out outside of Zach Galligan. It's a ton of deposition in this movie, but at the same exposition. Yes, I'm sorry. So there's a ton of exposition in this movie, and I kept thinking about how intrigued I was that I kept trying to think of what was going to happen next. I was trying to guess who's gonna fuck who's gonna kill who, and none of my predictions came right. At one point, I thought the doctor was banging the wife. I thought Zach Galligan was gonna bang the one boyfriend's girlfriend. I thought people were just gonna be fucking nonstop from dawn till dusk in this movie. But sadly, that doesn't happen. It's a very milquetoast movie, but I couldn't help but be intrigued by it. I thought that I kept thinking to myself, we need more movies like this. We need more erotic thrillers to come back because this stuff happens in real life. People have affairs all the time. It's fascinating when it's happening to someone else other than you.
Sure.
So seeing people go down this rocky road and betrayal, the brother, you think the brother is a good guy, and then he bangs the wife. And the entire time, I'm just thinking, oh man, poor Zach Galligan's character is just catching strays from everyone. Everywhere he turns, someone's giving him the business. And he's just trying to fix his dad's house. It's just like literally the nicest guy ever. and the one woman who's looking for her boyfriend tries to blackmail him for no reason. Like, what did this guy do to deserve this type of life where it's just constant misery? And I think that's kind of what made me excited about where this movie was going. But ultimately, and it ends on the craziest note.
It does.
It really does. It's something happens, something major happens, and you're like, oh, that's got to be where it ends. But no, it ends on a one-liner. Like it ends on like an Arnold Schwarzenegger one-liner.
Yeah.
And listen, for me, it made it that much better. But
Sure.
yeah, that's where I'm coming from with Mortal Passions.
All right, Mark, where you come from? Mortal Passions.
Yeah, so I wasn't as into it as Dan, but I agree with most of his points in terms of there's not much that stands out about it. I think what it does is they had a very basic idea of what you think an erotic thriller is in terms of, the betrayal, affairs, and all that stuff into the story, money involved, all these different people that might have motivations for things. And they just didn't really, in my opinion, I think they made the wrong choices at every time they could have done a twist. And they did one dumb thing that I don't know where this would have came in the screenwriting process or the storyboarding process or anything. A lot of times things would happen and then they would give the reason for that thing happening beforehand instead of letting like some foreshadowing happen, if you know what I'm saying.
Give an example.
Like when the brother bangs the girlfriend,
Mhm.
and then all of a sudden it's like, well, he still loves me from when we dated years ago. And I'm like, did we know that? Like, because if I would have known that going in, that scene would have been a lot more tense. When he comes in with the gun, then all I'm introduced for the brother is that he does things to protect, his little brother. But if I would have had that extra, even it's the one thing that I've said a million times on this podcast. If when we're introduced to the brother, if there's just a line, and I could have missed this line if it's in there, where he says something along the lines of like, oh, well, she's your problem now, or something just to insinuate that, there was a history between them and not
They
just
do.
they do.
They do.
What?
He confronts her in the bedroom when she's wearing underwear, and she goes to change, and then she stops herself and is like, well, it's nothing you haven't seen before.
Oh, I didn't take that way. Okay.
But also, Mark, you're forgetting one major thing.
What did I forget?
Emily lies all the time.
True. Yeah.
That's true.
She's
Everything she says to Dr. Powers is an absolute lie.
Yeah.
So they may have fucked in the past, but that doesn't necessarily mean love. Don't conflate sex with love.
Yeah.
Mark.
I mean,
forget-
they do have that line when she's having sex with the affair guy, which I didn't realize wasn't the guy from Gremlins until like the very end.
Yeah.
And he goes, says something, I think, do you love me? And he goes, well, I fuck you. And then they leave it at that. So I get that. That was just, it was just, maybe if I had that information in my head going in, that scene's a little bit different for me, but that was just a weird, like, turn of events where they kill the one guy and then all of a sudden they're having sex next to his dead body.
Technically a threesome.
Technically.
I was so
they were
hoping
cuckolding
that I was so hoping that that guy would be still alive and just kind of like on his deathbed, pretty much just watching him bang his girl.
Yeah.
Like you see the light slowly fading, and like the last thing he sees is her just giving him, going crazy on him.
Yeah, and but most of it, like Dan said, very milquetoast. I wish there was. I wish some of the twists were more like maybe out there a little bit. Maybe turns out that the husband like knew the whole time, and him and the other girl were in on it to just get rid of the other three or something. That would have been a good twist rather than what we got at the end with the really crazy Thelma and Louise ending between Burke and Emily. And as much as the scenes were fun with the therapist at times because they were just bonkers off the wall, I think his whole section is useless for the most part outside of being exposition heavy. You could have done that in other ways and not even had that character really there. But then you don't get the scene where the husband, and I keep saying that because in my head I know I'm going to say Zach Galifianakis, and I don't want to do
Todd.
Todd. Okay, thank you. Todd throws the box with the finger on it to him. You don't get that wild scene without the therapist. And then I would have, and to Dan's point, and my final point here, they missed the mark of having a great twist where the doctor was also banging Emily.
I think he was, Mark.
But
because he mentions, "I'm never going to let you use me again."
Well, I misinterpreted a lot of things, man, because I took that as in terms of her lying.
It's muddled, so I could see why Dan would read into it that way. But I read it into because he's upset that she was lying the entire time about Todd and Todd's mental state, and he was using the information that he received from her which colored how he treated Todd in their therapy sessions. Okay. She definitely tries to fuck him at the end.
Yeah,
that's why I read into it that way.
Yeah,
because that's her go-to.
Exactly. She does that a lot, so I figured, that's what. Because at one point, Todd complains to the doctor that he never takes his side. So immediately I'm thinking, well, because the doctor probably banged her, and he's giving her the benefit of the doubt, kind of thing, or like he knows her tricks. So he's like gaslighting Todd, essentially.
Yeah, I think this mainly comes down to, I think the discussion we're having here is just shocking in an erotic thriller in the late 80s. Just comes down to bad writing, essentially, where at least multiple times we've all had different interpretations of what was actually going on in the scene. And it's like, because they need to make it explicit if the doctor was sleeping with her or had any kind of relationship, because his whole motivation at the end, it changes in that case, obviously, because if he doesn't call the cops because he's sleeping with her or secretly in love with her, he might still be that. Gives me, okay, that's justification why he didn't call the cops when he got a severed finger, especially with the way he thinks Todd's mental state is. But yeah, I think what I started off with is, I think they saw the idea of like stories that would be in these type of movies, but the writer just didn't know how to write twist, or maybe he was trying to write different ones from things that had already come out, and a lot of it just came up not really benefiting the movie at all. And some things, a lot of things you just have to just let it go past you, and because it's not, it's just a movie. Like when he hides the money in an extremely bright blue bag outside, and yet Emily does not see it when she exits the property as well. And you're like, I don't know. I just wish some of the twists were better. I would have been more in Dan's camp. If there was a great, like, insane final 20 minutes of all these different backstabs going on. I think just having the ones that we knew for the most part end up being what happens is disappointing to me. Even though I did cackle out loud when he all of a sudden takes control of the car and drives it off the cliff or whatever he ends up doing there. Because that came out of nowhere. But yeah, that's about it. Very, very run of the mill one of these movies.
Okay, yeah, I think it's pretty straightforward. I really wouldn't consider a lot of the stuff twists in here, and maybe that's what you were looking for.
Yeah.
Because I think it plays itself pretty straight. One thing I do love about movies that I realize I love: surprise karate.
Yeah,
and
I had that written down in my notes.
Just it doesn't happen all the time, but when it just happens, when someone just uses karate when you're not expecting it, love it.
Yeah. It's definitely a character choice.
Yeah, it's a little treat for you.
Yeah.
It's like, did you know this character knows karate, and we're not going to explain why? Yeah,
and it's there we go. Come up again.
Never coming up again.
We're talking about the bouncer, right? The bouncer.
No,
Oh, we're talking about specifically Burke as he attacks the bouncer. Yes.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah, because the reaction of everyone in the club is the exact reaction I would have when surprise karate occurs.
Yeah,
Because
it's true.
we're just going to let this guy leave.
Maybe one
not
day
gonna
in my life, I will witness surprise karate.
I would definitely mumble under my breath, "Holy fuck, that guy's awesome."
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. The ending, the Thelma and Louise ending is kind of great because it's insane.
Yeah.
I love the fact too that Burke specifically waits for Emily to get home to make his dramatic exit too. To start all this stuff. He's literally just sitting in a chair in the house, like waiting for the first person to pull up, and then he's just like, "Oh, now I gotta make a scene."
He's a
Go
diva.
get my bag, yeah, real diva. Yeah, I mean, I think Dan's right. I think there needs to be more movies like this. Not because this is particularly good, but this is like a movie for adults.
Yes.
And it's an erotic thriller, and there is a distinction between erotic thriller and like a softcore porn that we've talked about how we wish came back. Because this is very light on the sex, not a whole lot, and I think there's like one major scene. I think it's two, but yeah, it's this weird, stupid movie. And one question for you guys: when the first scenes at the doctor's office, who did you start believing first in while you're watching? Did you believe Emily's side of the story? Did you believe Todd's?
I believe Todd only because this isn't like a slight against women, but I believe Todd because it's Zach Galligan.
Okay.
And I had a hard time believing that the lead actor in Gremlins would beat his wife.
Okay.
I had the opposite reaction in thinking this seems like a character choice Zach Allen would choose to separate himself from the thing. I'm like, oh, he's going to be like sort of the guy we root against in this whole movie. Yeah, like that's why I was like, okay, I see where this is going. He's going to be the asshole, and somebody's going to, sort of stop him. I didn't expect it to be him be the complete, I guess, one being shit on by everyone he knows, including the doctor by the end of the movie.
But did you feel like maybe he deserved it just a little bit?
Zach?
Yeah.
He seemed. They definitely did a good job of painting him as lazy in terms of he should really be out there trying to get work instead of working on his dad's house.
Yeah.
That was left to him. But it's really hard to root for Emily.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, she's really good at being a piece of shit.
I think in a vacuum, you could say he deserves. You could theoretically say the way he's presented without any of Emily's baggage, like if insert generic woman into that scenario. Yeah. He deserves what Emily is doing to him in that sense of cheating on him.
Yeah, like if you were a woman and married to Todd, how long would you be married before you cheat on him?
Because do they say how long they're married?
No, I don't think they do. Because like, what's he bringing to the table besides a shit ton of money that he's is dragging his feet to even attain?
Yeah, and very reluctant to get, it seems.
Yeah. And also hid 6 figures worth of money in a safety deposit box from you the entire time.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, I think if you paint Emily as your typical girl, your typical wife, as Mark said, instead of this money grubbing, for lack of a better word, hoe.
She's a bop, as the kids would say.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. And that's if you paint her in any other light, I think she's justified for seeking solace outside of her relationship with him. But she's putting the moves on every swinging dick out there in California and wanting to kill Todd. That's not a sympathetic character.
This is a whole different movie if you exchange Emily for Adele in the situation. Just the way that character is presented.
But he's a jerk.
Who?
Adele.
The other girl, that's her name, right? Or,
Yeah,
Yeah,
Adele.
yeah. She tries to blackmail Todd.
yeah.
She
but
walks
that's
it back
after
at the end.
Sure,
Yeah.
but still, like, she does it at first, or she plans on doing it.
Sure. Yeah.
That's until she meets him,
Right.
or she has a conscience, which I don't think Emily did at all, because her first instinct is anytime she got in trouble was immediately wanting to fuck the person in front of her.
Use her feminine wiles.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like that was like even when Burke tells her to like just go distract them so I can finish burying the body, she just goes up and fucks Todd. Like that's her like distraction. Sex, yes.
Well, can you think of a better distraction, Mark, than a naked woman?
No, but I'm just saying for her, like she could have done
You break
anything else.
out Connect 4.
Mark's like college football 25.
Just in a
I bet you I could beat you in NCAA. Oh, you're on.
yeah.
I want to see you take Florida Atlantic to the bowl for the championship.
Because all Burke wanted her to do was essentially keep him away from the window. So
Sure.
they could have just talked. They could have argued. Just like it didn't need to be. But that was what the writer was painting her as. Is that was what she always went to when she needed to do something.
I mean, I think Burke is heavily suggesting that that's what he means by that too.
Okay.
I don't think she's the only one thinking on that wavelength. And also, it's her husband. If she, it's okay that she fucks him, Mark.
Yeah.
You don't have to be offended by it.
This is the only time where it is okay.
Yeah, in the marital bed,
Right. In the eyes of Jesus.
in the eyes
Yeah,
of
good
Jesus. Yes. Also, everybody is like the most quiet digger.
Yes.
Like several scenes about people digging up dirt and then replacing said dirt overnight, and no one wakes up because of it.
Oh, I had written in my notes that Todd is the heaviest sleeper I've ever seen.
Oh yeah.
Where there's a man in his room, then Emily holds a gun literally to his head, and then the doorbell rings. Not a peep from Todd.
Yep. And then Burke buries a body.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And he's just none the wiser.
So I guess what you're saying is he deserves all of this.
It's just like, what's his redeeming quality?
He's a pushover.
Yes, he is.
That's really, and that's not really a redeeming quality, but it's definitely a sympathetic quality.
Is it though? No. I would say he's not. I would say that does not make in my eyes him being a pushover and just being like he brings nothing to the table.
He's handy. He's putting in his own sprinkler system. That's pretty. I'd invite him over.
Sure. But other than that, I mean, I'm not trying to say I'm Team Emily, but I'm like definitely not Team Todd.
What team are you in this movie?
Probably Team Darcy.
Team Darcy. Okay, so because he's kind of been dragged into it.
Yeah. I mean, like he's fucking married women, sure, but like he also isn't super keen on the whole idea of killing Todd. So he does for as much as he has a moral compass in it, it does exist in this movie.
But he has terrible taste in artwork, Darcy. The pictures hanging in his apartment are god awful.
Yeah.
So I guess he deserved to die.
What if Adele, the interior decorator, was the one that put those up?
Then I get it.
Yeah. Right.
I would also cheat on her too then. Yeah, it was one of those things where the movie, and I think Mark, you kind of brought this up, where the movie tried to put too much stuff into it, right? Where you have your prototypical woman or man going outside of the relationship and cheating. You have that. Then you have the idea of murdering the spouse. So it's like, all right, that's all like boilerplate erotic thriller.
And you got to remember that she does all this before finding out about the money in the safety deposit box.
Right. So then now you're throwing in a bunch of money, and then you're throwing in the love affairs girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you have a lot of moving pieces here.
I will say it might be before she knows about the $200,000, but the house itself is plus $1 million.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's like because I guess she would have gotten that money too. Well, no, I guess I would have went to Burke maybe.
I guess it depends. No, because as far from what we know,
Yeah.
Bert gets 120 grand, right?
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
he only gets half of that 240 or whatever it was money in the safe deposit box. And Todd says he was left the house, so that becomes Todd's house.
Oh yeah, I know the house is definitely in play for Emily.
Yeah,
Without issue. And I think
So-
that's kind of why she's trying to get a divorce, and then just when he finally doesn't, she knows he's not going to do it.
that's another lie. She never asks him for a divorce.
No.
That's another Emily lies about that too. Because she tells Darcy's like, why don't you just get a divorce? And she's like, oh, I never stop asking him for it. Do you think the Todd we know would try and stop the divorce from happening? No, I don't think so. I think he would give in.
He would roll over.
She lies to Darcy because she says the only way that I'm going to get this money is to kill him because she wants him dead. Yeah.
I think so. The biggest issue one of the biggest issues I have is Emily is inconsistent in terms of her storytelling, right? So it's at the beginning, she's talking to the doctor about how Todd abuses her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's never really brought up again.
Yes, it is.
When?
She says he throws the vase. I don't even know why. This is one thing. I don't even know why she brings up the vase in Dr. Power's office. But Burke shoots the vase, and in the next therapy session she says that Todd got angry again. He threw a vase.
I didn't hear that. Okay.
I would say she's very consistent in that she lies about everything. She's consistent in the lie.
I meant inconsistent as she's, or maybe that's the wrong word, but she's not patient. Where all she had to do was just wait for Todd to finish. And I mean, there wouldn't be a movie if she did this, but if she waits for Todd to finish fixing the house, selling the house, she gets the money. She can do whatever she wants then. But I get it that she's upset at being a cocktail waitress, and I know that's probably not a lot of fun, and it's degrading. Mm-hmm. But if you're Emily, you've been in it this far. You're pot committed. Just wait it out.
Yeah, I mean, I think yes, the obvious answer would be that. But obviously, the character of Emily is, what would you call her? You would call her impulsive.
Yeah,
I think she has been waiting for him to get a job, to fix up, to finally say that the house is finished enough to put it on the market and to sell it.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't really understand. We never really get a sense of how long everything has been, how long ago his father died,
right?
How long Burke has been away, because he doesn't even go to the funeral.
Yeah,
he's like on a longshoreman job or something like that. So this is really inconsistent. We don't really understand how long this stuff has been happening, how long she's been waiting for him to sell the house. I mean, it's a pretty nice house, but
yeah. If she should have been, I get that she's kind of the only one that has the job. Well, she is the only one who has a job. But if I'm her, if I'm in Emily's shoes, and I know that this house that we're staying in is worth a cool $1 million plus, I'm doing everything I can to schmooze Todd. Again, we know she's very good at using her body to her advantage.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm her, I'm definitely using that on Todd. Just like, yeah, listen, you keep working, baby. Just this is gonna be what you've earned. You deserve this. Don't rush him.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary that I've thought of this.
Maybe
one day in the future.
Yeah, I think it just comes down to she just genuinely does not like her husband.
She hates him.
Yeah.
There's definitely a disdain for him.
Yeah, so it's different when you're talking about like, oh, it's just he's taking a sweet ass time with all this stuff. He's dragging his feet when she like has some sort of genuine love or even like for him, but she just dislikes him, hates him. And they're probably married because she knew that his parents had money and that eventually his parents would die and leave it all to him. Basically, all that kind of stuff. I wonder how they met. You think she met him as she was a cocktail waitress? Probably, right?
Maybe.
Yeah, because again, she lies all the time. But was it her that mentioned that she had dated Burke first?
Right. So they probably met. She probably met Burke as a cocktail waitress. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now
he went off longshoring And then she's like, oh, well, his brother's right there.
Yeah.
Right. To pick
So
up the pieces.
So at first she might have been the gold digger anyway, but with the different brother.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
going back to the therapy stuff, I think a lot of her lies about the physical abuse and stuff, now that I've been sitting thinking about it, just comes down to giving her, the cover for when she does kill Todd, if it's ever traced back to her.
Yeah.
Sure.
100%. They were going to set it up. They were going to set him shooting him as a suicide. That was the whole plan.
Right. Yeah. Because she brings that up. That
Or
he's
self-defense. Or if all else fails, self-defense.
Sure.
Yeah, that's true. Did it bother anyone that the brother had a giant Confederate flag hanging on his
Oh yeah. That was almost as surprising as the karate.
Yeah.
Is that the Confederate flag makes an appearance in this
He's
film.
just a huge Dukes of Hazzard fan.
Right. Listen, it's his heritage, all right? Don't look anymore. In California. Yeah, that was a very odd centerpiece.
Almost forgot about that, yeah.
It's like, well, wait a minute. It's not even just like a little one.
It's a pretty big one.
Yeah.
So, Mortal Passions from 1989 is directed by Andrew Lane, who directed movies called Jake Speed, Lonely Hearts, Distant Cousins, Trainwreck, Trade-Off, and The Secretary. Stars Zach Galligan, Krista Erickson, Michael Bowen, Luca Bercovici, Sheila Kelly, David Warner, and Cassandra Gava. IMDb score 4.4, Rotten Tomatoes score 29% audience, no critic score, and a budget of $3.3 million, but I could not find any box office. I'm sure it was low, but it does have an R rating, so that means it wasn't like I don't know. I'm assuming it got some sort of
limited release.
Theatrical release. Yeah, it did play Sundance. Was it Sundance? Sundance, one of the a very major festival. Yeah, what was it? Looking it up because it was nominated. Sundance Film Festival, nice. 1990 nominee Grand Jury Prize.
Okay.
That's cool.
I feel like maybe everything is nominated.
Okay. It's just like
you play at Sundance, you're automatically nominated.
Yeah, because when you said that, my first thought was, I would love to be in the room with the people that go to Sundance to see movies to watch this one.
Yeah, there are like 16 nominations, including House Party.
Really?
Mm.
Oh, okay.
Well, there's cinema.
Yeah, that's true.
The winner that year was Chameleon Street. Never heard of it.
Cool. No idea what that is.
Nope. You guys want to get into the plot?
Do it.
Yeah.
All right, Dan, what you got?
All right, friends. I want to ask you to check out some friends of the podcast. If you listen to us, you already know what I'm talking about. First and foremost is Tia and her co-host Brittany. They have a podcast called The Top 10 with Tia. It's a weekly podcast where they run down top 10 lists, so it's exactly what it sounds like. Go to geekvibesnation.com if that's something you're into, and they're also on YouTube. Again, just search Top 10 with Tia. It should pop right up. And last but not least, our very own Mark Myers with the Game Vault podcast. It's a bi-weekly podcast where Mark talks about video games that he's playing, video game news, things that you should kind of have on your radar, things that you should be checking out. He streams over on Twitch at Game Vault Pod, and he's also on all socials at Game Vault Pod. And you could listen to the podcast on any platform of your choice. So go give him a follow. Go check him out on Twitch. He's a lot of fun. And get your Mark fill.
Okay, great. We're going to take a quick break, and you guys are going to listen to messages from friends of the podcast. So we will be right back. And welcome back. And now it's time to get into plot 4, Mortal Passions. We open on Zach Galligan talking to his therapist, David Warner, telling him he has suspicions of his wife cheating on him. Cuts back and forth with his wife, Emily, during her therapy sessions with David Warner, telling him that she isn't having an affair, though she's thought about it because Zach Galligan, Todd, won't have sex with her. Well, the first of her many lies. David Warner, Dr. Powers, makes an allusion to the fact that Todd has been through a lot, but it's unclear what that is. And Todd talks more about his obvious depressive episode. Emily is talking about how she's afraid that Todd will inevitably kill himself. Emily goes home to find Todd painting, which seems to be the only thing that Todd shows any passion for these days. They then get into an argument about the house. This is his childhood home, but it seems like painting it has become some sort of obsession for Todd after his dad died. But Emily wants him to sell the house so that they can move, and she doesn't want to be a cocktail waitress anymore. And Todd tries to proposition his own wife for sex, but then cut to Emily having sex with a guy named Darcy.
Yeah, this transition confused me for at least 20 seconds.
Yeah, it was unclear, but I guess that was sort of the point.
Yeah, it was the point,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think once he says that line I said earlier about, he doesn't say he loves her, he just fucks her. I was like, oh, that can't be Todd.
Yeah. We could use better lighting on his face to make it like obvious quicker. Like,
True.
oh,
Yeah.
this is not Zach Galligan. This Darcy fella is having problems with going behind someone else's back, which pisses Emily off. Emily says that she's asked Todd for a divorce, but Todd refuses. That the house is worth over $1 million, but Darcy says he's never killed anyone before. So one night, while Todd is asleep, Emily lets Darcy in, who happened to pawn a gun somehow and is also a bit drunk. So it seems like the first time he's ever held a gun, based on how he takes it out of the jacket.
They are the absolute worst criminals.
Yes.
And also, this is the first instinct. It's fun when we do this and, going back and reliving it as you read the plot. This would be the first instance of showing how impulsive Emily is, in that there was no plan here. It was just come with a gun and shoot him.
Yep.
That everything else, like even Darcy is like, what am I supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
I thought what was going to happen was they were going to botch the murder by, like, they kill him and the brother shows up immediately afterwards. Like, oh, someone broke in. I just saw them leave off the terrace. But they go a different way.
Mm-hmm. Darcy is nervous about the cops easily putting it all together, so Emily takes the gun from him and says she'll do it. So she goes up to Todd, who is still sleeping in bed, and puts a gun to his head, but she stalls to pull the trigger. Then the doorbell rings and Emily and Darcy scramble to hide.
Yeah.
Todd wakes up to see Emily standing up, and she tells him someone is here and asks him to go downstairs and check on it. So Todd goes downstairs while Darcy makes his escape from the trellis. Todd goes outside and he's tackled by someone. Eventually the guy lets him up, and it turns out that it's Burke, Todd's brother.
Yeah, and I don't know, I didn't look this up on IMDb or anything, but I was confused by the way they spelt Burke in the captions, at least on two. It was like Berke or something.
I think
that's how I spell it in my notes.
Okay.
And that is how it is spelled on IMDb.
Yeah, because in my head, I'm spelling it with the U,
right?
And I just thought it was a miscaption, but glad to see that it is the actual correct name.
They hug and then go inside to a very unhappy Emily, who tells Todd to make up the guest bedroom for Burke and then retires to bed. Todd and Burke make the bed, and Todd tells Burke that he and Emily are having some marital problems, but they are working on it. Later in the night, Burke can hear Todd ask Emily for sex, but she turns him down. In the morning at breakfast, Emily forces Todd to tell Burke that he tried to commit suicide by asphyxiation in the garage, but the car ran out of gas.
Do you think...
Womp womp.
Yeah. Do you think, like, how much of a blow it must be? Like, it really must say something about you and your game when your wife is like banging everyone else but you. So it's like, that's a real indictment of how bad you are, I think.
Yep. Or how much she just hates him.
Yeah. Like, there must be something going on there.
Yeah. It'd be like one thing if, like, she just wasn't having sex, right?
Right.
Just like, I don't want to have sex in general.
Yeah. Because then you can't blame it on anything, really.
Yeah. But it's like, oh yeah, no, she's got a very fully functioning sex drive.
Yeah. It's like a lethal sex drive, literally lethal. And you can't get it done.
Yep.
I wouldn't know, so I'm just putting that out there.
This happened shortly after their father died and the business went under. Emily leaves the room and Todd tells Burke that Emily is sleeping with someone else. Burke then confronts Emily in her bedroom as she's in her underwear, and she makes a comment about Burke has seen it all before. Tells her not to do anything to hurt Todd, and it eventually leads Burke to giving Emily a slap across the face after she says that she feels nothing when she's fucking Todd. Todd has another session with with Dr. Powers and relays a story about Burke beating up a kid who was bullying Todd when they were kids. Dr. Powers suggests that Todd might be relying on Burke now to fix his problems at home with Emily. Burke and Emily wait for Todd in the car as they have an awkward conversation. Todd gets in the back and they head to the bank. He tells Emily and Burke that Dad left Burke something when he died, so he grabs the safe deposit box and shows them $248,000 that was meant to be split between Todd and Burke. Emily freaks out about the fact Todd's half has been just sitting in a safe deposit box the entire time and storms off. Later, Emily has a late-night phone call at home with Burke, which she is a witness to, so he decides to follow her to work at the club she works at as a cocktail waitress called Grinders.
Are we sure that
Sounds-
he's just not a CIA agent?
He could be with the surprise karate.
Yeah.
That would be such a twist. Like, I wasn't really a longshoreman. I was off on a secret mission in like Nicaragua or something like that.
Yeah. Also, in the classy establishment called Grinders. At Grinders, Emily is trying to talk to Darcy while she's waiting tables and winds up snatching the wig off another waitress after they get into a fight. Burke waits outside of the club the whole night until Emily leaves with Darcy and then follows them to Darcy's apartment building where they go in. Next morning, Burke comes back and manages to sneak into Darcy's apartment after he leaves, snoops around into the bedroom, but then Darcy comes back in for a jacket. Burke manages to hide in the closet until Darcy leaves again. Burke comes back to the house and hands Todd a gun, telling him to use it to scare Emily because she's fucking someone else. Todd gets mad that Burke would follow Emily because he didn't really want to know the truth, then says he'll go try and win back Emily.
Do you think a lot of this probably could have been avoided if both Todd and Emily saw the doctor together instead of separately?
Yes.
I just thought of that. Why is it separate?
It does seem weird that Dr. Powers never suggests it.
Yeah, like obviously he knows both of them very well.
Yeah.
You would think one of his part of his plan would be, listen, we need to get all of us together in a room and just hash it out for an hour or two.
Yeah.
Well, he thinks the longer he stretches this out, the more money he makes, Dan.
It's true. Yeah, that is a way to.
Well, Mark, you
coming
never
back.
finished therapy.
That's true too.
It's
That's
true.
what they say, right?
Yeah. You're never done. It's it's an ongoing process.
That's what big therapy wants you to think, Dan.
Yeah, it's true.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp.
Nope. Thank you, Dan. I had that joke in my head too.
So the next night at dinner, Todd half-heartedly asks if Emily would want to go to a movie the next night, as it's her night off. And it's such a pathetic. This is where I'm just like, all right, Todd, just fucking man up. Like, how hard is it to just ask your wife if you want to go to a movie?
Yeah.
He just like has to do this whole production about it. Like, oh, I was reading in the paper. So it's a real tearjerker. And then he invites his brother along. It's like, come on. Even if she's not fucking your brother, you shouldn't be inviting your brother to what your attempts to win your wife back.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's
take her out to fucking dinner. You have $124,000 sitting in a safe deposit box for a rainy day. Take her to fucking dinner.
Yeah. Go to Ruth Chris's or something like that. You know,
Yeah.
they're no expense.
I just don't see Todd making any attempts to win her back. This is
Maybe
his feeble attempt.
Maybe it's because there's like that mutual hatred. I think because he knows that she's cheating on him, or he at least suspects it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's just no spark there to begin with. It seems like.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what Todd is gaining from this relationship if he doesn't like her. So you got to think that he still, at least, is convincing himself that he still loves her, right? But he is not putting in that effort.
Right.
This is his attempt to win his wife back, because he said it in the previous scene. He's going to win her back.
Right.
We never see him get her flowers, like the standard cliche, like romance stuff. Flowers. Yeah. Take her to a nice dinner. Wine and diner. Take her out for a date night. Whatever.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. There's never any urgency in Todd,
and that's the problem.
Yeah. He's a very, very generic guy.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of just, there's nothing exciting about him.
He's a nice guy, right?
Maybe too much of a nice guy.
Well, I mean, like a nice guy, the pejorative nice guy.
Nice guy.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. He's simply, I don't know how he got. Money, I guess, is how he got her in the first place. But yeah, just so bland.
Mm-hmm. Like, he doesn't even go through the trouble of finding out if she's cheating on him.
He just suspects.
Yeah, hire a private detective.
Yeah, and then the private detective will bang her. It's great.
Exactly. Oh, yeah, she's definitely fucking other people.
I got good news and bad news.
She actually says, though, that she needs to go to work to cover for the girl whose wig she snatched. So that night, Burke goes to the club and asks one of the waitresses, the waitress Emily is supposed to be covering for, if Emily is working tonight. The waitress says that she's off. So Burke goes to leave, and the bouncer comes in to try and get the cover charge that Burke skipped out on. So Burke gives him the old surprise karate and kicks his leg out from under him, and then drives to Darcy's apartment and breaks in. He first finds Darcy, whom he pulls a gun on and tells him to go to the bedroom. There he finds Emily post-coitus. He tells Emily to get dressed and come with him, but Darcy never fully takes the threat seriously. So Darcy tries to call the cops, so Burke shoots him right in the chest and he dies immediately. Emily instinctively decides that it's in her best interest to fuck Burke so he doesn't kill her too, so they fuck more or less on top of Darcy's dead body. Burke then tells her to help him dispose of the body or he'll kill her. Burke bags the body and then puts it in the car. They bring the body back to the house and bury it in the yard. Emily has to go upstairs and fuck Todd to keep him occupied while Burke finishes the job. In the early morning, Emily tries to leave with a bag of clothes, but Burke shoots at her, breaking a vase. At the club, a girl by the name of Adele shows up in the daytime looking for any information on Darcy, who she calls a neighbor and hasn't seen in about a week. She shows a picture to Cinda, and Cinda tells her that she has seen Darcy at the club and give her the address of the girl she's seen him leave with, meaning Emily. Meanwhile, Emily is at Dr. Power's office spinning more lies about Todd breaking the vase in a fit of rage. Adele shows up at the house and finds Todd in the backyard laying pipe, literally, for a sprinkler system. It's one time he gets to.
Yeah.
She tells him that she's looking tells him that she's looking for Emily to see if she knows anything about the whereabouts of Darcy. They go into the house and Adele chats about her career, how she was doing telemarketing and then tried to become an actress, and how she gave Darcy $500 and he never paid her back. At that moment, Burke and Emily come home with groceries, and Adele recognizes Burke from the day Burke broke into Darcy's. Adele asks Emily if she's ever met Darcy and shows her the picture. Emily pretends she doesn't know him, but Adele says that Cinda from the club said that she thought Emily and Darcy were friends. So Emily backtracks and says something about how Darcy walked her to her car one night.
There's a real catty response by Emily in that discussion where she says that she met Darcy once. He walked her back to the car. He was a perfect gentleman. And Adele says, that doesn't sound like the Darcy I know. To which Emily replies, I guess it depends on the woman.
Yep.
Ooh, damn, girl.
Yeah.
Fucked her up.
Adele. I'm a team Adele. I'm actually team Adele here.
I don't know much about her.
You're still hung up on the extortion plot.
I am. That's a hard thing to get over.
I guess
it's probably the least bad thing that happens in the movie.
Mark, you're right. That is
yeah.
True, right? There's literal murder that goes on in this movie.
Yeah. Todd, in her defense, Todd did force her to go to his house in the middle and dig up a dead body.
That's true too. Yes, but he didn't know.
Oh, he knew.
You think? Because he was watching the tape, or so he was watching.
He was watching an old movie where he gets the idea because he remembers seeing Burke outside that one morning,
right?
And he's like, "Oh, you know what? I'm gonna dig that shit up."
And then, did they just leave the body there?
Oh yeah, cops never come by. Cops never play a part in this entire movie.
Oh man,
it's still there. Because he covers it back up.
Oh, he just takes the finger.
He just takes the finger.
Right.
Yeah. And apparently, because it's really hard to get the cops where they are, because every time they call 911, they got to tell them, "I want the police."
That's true too. Also, Dr. Powers is probably still sitting in his office to this day.
Just dead.
Just dead.
Slumped over. I haven't heard from Dr. Powers in a few weeks.
Imagine his next client coming in.
Yeah.
Walking in.
Well, the way
therapy for that therapy.
Well, because he's a terrible therapist, they wouldn't know the difference.
Awful.
Yeah,
terrible.
He's a terrible therapist. They're probably just talking to him. I don't know, Doc. I feel like no one listens to me. What do you think? He's just slumped over, dead.
Could the doctor even call the police on Emily?
The confidentiality.
So there are cases where if the therapist is privy to a crime that hasn't happened yet, or has reason to believe that you are going to commit a crime or harm somebody in the future, they have to call the cops.
Yeah.
But if you tell them about a crime that committed in the past and there's no reason to believe that crime would be duplicated, then they're kind of sworn to confidentiality. And I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a therapist, but I believe more or less that is the case.
I think you're right. At least how it's portrayed in media.
Yeah, like The Sopranos, I guess. Specifically. Adele leaves, and Emily tells Todd that she wouldn't cheat on him after Adele kind of makes it seem like that she would. And at his next doctor's appointment, Todd tells Dr. Powers that Emily is cheating on him and the guy is missing. Tells Dr. Powers that he's always taken Emily's side and has not been objective, so he storms out saying he's going to get proof. So he finds a payphone and calls Adele, who left him her card. Back at the house, Emily is putting away laundry, and Burke's room and finds the gun. Burke comes in, and Emily tries to bring up what they're going to do about this Adele woman. Burke is like, what do you think? What do you want me to do? Kill her? And she walks out saying, it should be easy for you.
Oh.
Todd goes to see Adele at a play she's doing. Then they go to a diner. And Todd keeps bringing up Darcy, but Adele avoids the subject. He presses her on it, and then she says that she saw Burke outside Darcy's apartment and again at the club the night he beat up the bouncer. She says there's bad karma around that guy. Back at the house, Emily and Burke get into an argument. She says she doesn't love Todd and she loves Burke. She can't keep going on with this good wife routine. When did that routine even start?
Fooled me.
Yeah. And Todd finds himself back at Adele's apartment. Adele sits him down and tells him that she thinks that Emily is trying to have him killed. Darcy talked a lot and mentioned that he would pay Adele back once the husband was out of the picture. It takes some convincing, but eventually Todd decides that she's probably telling the truth. Later, Adele has fallen asleep. Todd watches an old movie. The guy starts digging up a grave. This reminds Todd about the night he saw Burke in the backyard. So they go back to the house and start digging up the backyard. Eventually, they dig up Darcy's body, which causes Adele to run off, saying this family is crazy. Todd spends the night putting the backyard back the way it was. Burke comes out and asks him what's up, and Todd tells him that Emily wanted Darcy to kill him. Burke says no at first, but then decides that's probably true, so he tries to convince Todd to kill Emily. Then Todd reveals that he knows Burke killed Darcy, which causes an argument between the two. Burke basically calling Todd a loser before Todd walks off. Burke then storms up to the bedroom where Emily is sleeping. He pulls her out of bed and accuses her of trying to have Todd killed. She denies it and then he grabs her by the throat and threatens to choke her out. But then she says she loves him and he leaves in disgust. Then he goes to the bank and empties the safe deposit box. And Todd goes to Dr. Powers and tells him that Emily was going to kill him for his money, and then gives Dr. Powers a small box that contains Darcy's finger. Todd leaves and Dr. Powers goes to call the police, then hangs up and calls Emily to tell her that he needs to see her immediately. Todd goes to Adele's, who is having trouble sleeping since she saw a dead body. Todd is there to try and convince her not to do or say anything about Darcy, so she tells him that she can do that, but she wants $10,000 for her troubles. He agrees, but when he leaves, she immediately starts to regret her minor extortion attempt. Emily goes to Dr. Powers' office, and he shows her the finger that Todd gave him, and he confronts her and tells her that he knows she's been lying to him the whole time. Emily tells more lies, specifically about Darcy's whereabouts and Burke threatening her. And she offers herself to Dr. Powers for his silence, but he turns her down and then goes to call the cops, so she shoots him and he dies. Meanwhile, Todd goes to the bank and finds the safe deposit box empty. Emily returns home. What?
Sorry, this is my favorite scene in the movie. Todd goes to the safety deposit box, opens it. There's no money in it. He looks under the box.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's where the money will be, Todd.
$240,000.
Yep.
I also love that he punches the box and it is the weakest safety deposit box of all time.
Yeah, he's very much a weakling in both physicality and mentality.
Emily returns home and Burke makes a big show about leaving. Emily tries to convince him to take her with him. He refuses, so they have a scuffle on the stairs where he drops the bag of money over the balcony and the money spills out. He goes to retrieve it and Emily takes a shot at him, missing. So he comes back up the steps to try and get the gun from her. Then he slaps her in the face and knocks the gun out of her hand in the same slap. And they start fucking right there on the stairs.
Again, CIA agent.
Yeah.
But Todd comes home in the middle and he rushes Burke. They start fighting on the stairs. They tumble down. Burke punches Todd in the face. This kind of made me laugh because he looks out cold after that punch.
The one hitter quitter.
Burke punches Todd in the face, but Todd gets up and then tries the weakest punch ever. Burke says he's sorry and then gets a real punch in the face from Todd, and Todd says, "Fuck you." And then Burke walks out.
The way that Todd punches Burke and Burke reacts as if it's like, that didn't hurt at all, but I'm going to make it look as if, I don't want to embarrass my brother.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, you got me, Todd. Yeah. Ooh, ouch.
Yeah. It's just been a whole movie of embarrassing Todd. So.
Poor Todd.
So he leaves. Instead of taking the money, Burke leaves it on the front porch behind a column. Emily tries to appeal to Todd's good nature, but he tells her to leave and then forces her out. She then gets into Burke's car, who's waiting for her, and he drives away, thinking that he still has all the money. Todd finds the gun on the steps and looks it over, putting it on his head, but then putting it down. I thought he was going to kill himself, and I was going to be like, damn, bold move for this movie.
Yeah, 100%. I thought the same thing.
Like him killing himself, never realizing that Burke left all the money.
I think that would have been a better ending.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, no happy endings for anybody.
Yep.
And Adele shows up and takes the money. Happy ending.
There you go. Later, Adele shows up to his door and apologizes for asking for the money. So she asks to come in, but he says it's not a good time. So he watches her leave and then finds the bag of money that Burke left behind. Meanwhile, Burke and Emily are driving, with Emily thinking that they're going to Tahiti is in the cards for them, with all the money that she thinks Burke still has. Burke then tells Emily that she went too far and it's all going to catch up to them. So he then speeds up the car and turns off the road and drives it off the cliff. Back at the house, Todd looks around the house and realizes he needs a decorator.
That's the best part.
And that is the end of Mortal Passions.
It's such a jarring ending. You cut from Burke and Emily, or Burke killing himself and Emily by full Thelma and Louise. Smash cut to Todd on the couch saying, "Maybe I do need an interior decorator." That's not how that scene transition should go. It should be the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You end on Burke and Emily dying.
Yeah. That is Mortal Passions. It's kind of a wild film.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the Letterboxd reviews said this movie was an erotic thriller that is neither nor thrilling. It's probably an appropriate review, but it was kind of stupid and fun in a way.
I think again what kept me glued to it was my own detective work or shoddy detective work, because I was like, oh well, so who's gonna end up with who? What's the twist gonna be? But it just never really delivered on any of what I was thinking. So in the end, it was a futile gesture, but it kept me hooked. So
there you go. Yeah. Okay, so that is Mortal Passions. We've got a third segment coming up, but you guys are going to listen to some ads to pay those bills, and we will be right back. And welcome back. Now it's time for the third segment, and this week is a new one. It's called Guess the Erotic Thriller, based on its IMDb Parent's Guide to Sex and Nudity. Yes, I have a selection of, I think, 8 erotic thrillers. These are all very mainstream movies. You may have seen most of them. And I have what has been written down in the Parent's Guide portion of their IMDb pages, and specifically where it lists the sex and nudity of the film. So we're going to do first one to buzz in. I'm just going to start reading these, and if you think you know the movie, what's a good buzz in for this week? Shout something inappropriate during climax. Yeah, something that is inappropriate to shout while climaxing.
Okay.
All right.
Sure.
So you guys get what's going to happen. So I have kind of so if we get through all of the notes and you guys haven't figured out what it is, I do have a director, which might make it easier. Okay.
I'm not big on I'm not really caught up on erotic thrillers, so this will be an interesting one.
So this list is based on Esquire's 40 sexiest erotic thrillers. So they're pretty mainstream.
Okay.
Got it.
So, and some of these have character names, so that might help. Some of them have actor names, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And if it starts bombing, we could cut this short. All right. First movie is rated moderate for the amount of sex and nudity in it. Okay.
Okay.
There's only one sex scene. It is more shocking and disturbing than sexual. Okay. A woman masturbates. She's clothed, but it's clearly implied. A woman performs a sex act on another woman. Viewers don't see body parts, but there's no mistaking what position they're in.
Mother.
Okay.
That is pretty inappropriate.
Black Swan.
It is Black Swan.
Oh, shit.
Mark is on the board.
Well done, sir. Well done.
Yeah. Featuring Natalie Portman, not white trash Natalie Portman.
So not your favorite.
Not my favorite. All right. Next one. This one is labeled severe. A man kisses a woman's neck and seats her over a kitchen sink. She removes her panties. He undoes his pants. His bare buttocks are visible from the side. They thrust and moan as the man continues to kiss the woman. She runs the sink, wetting both of them in their clothing. Opens her blouse. We briefly see her bare breast. The man proceeds to grope and kiss her breast. The woman locks her legs around his waist. They scuffle across the room and jump into bed. A bit of the woman's bare buttocks are briefly visible. We later hear moaning as the camera pans down from the bedroom ceiling, and we see the man and woman. They are nude from the shoulders up, rolling off of each other, out of breath in an obviously post-coital moment. Got a lot more here.
Waka Waka.
Okay, Dan.
Sliver?
It is not Sliver. Want me to keep going, Mark?
Give me a little more, because I have a guess, but I want to see.
Okay. A man and a woman kiss passionately in an elevator. The man rips the woman's dress off her chest. Her bare breast is briefly visible. He gropes and sucks her breast and caresses her bare thigh. I guess I should have mentioned that this was going to get graphic, this segment. Trigger warning. Go ahead.
50 Shades of Grey?
It is not 50 Shades of Grey. All right. It was Fatal Attraction.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay. This one, also labeled severe. A scantily clad female in transparent lingerie is shown at great length during discourse with her husband, inclusive of close, slow, and seductive female dancing with breast and pubis details clearly seen through her sheer lingerie throughout. Female's nude body, breasts, and buttocks are featured while she slowly undresses and moves slowly around a room to music while getting changed. Man visits a prostitute. Some sexual dialogue takes place. The man leaves shortly after, and they do not have sex. Severe full frontal nudity is displayed during several explicit and graphic group sex scenes at a private male sex party.
Waka Waka.
Dan.
That's got to be Eyes Wide Shut.
That is Eyes Wide Shut.
Never seen that movie.
Dan's on the board. It's not great.
Yeah,
people love it.
That's the Stanley Kubrick movie, right?
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, I don't like it. But,
okay, so it's not worth checking out.
I never like telling someone don't see it.
Okay,
see it and make up your mind. I would say this one also labeled severe. I'm going to try and not give away the names first, and let's see if you guys can get it. Two characters, male and female, shower together. We see her breasts and his member. Hell frontal nude. And this one obviously written by a man, and you'll see why in a few of these. These same characters, the male character eats the female character in their bed, though oddly she is wearing her bra and panties. And then an other female bangs the same man. We see her breasts. Then this first female blows and bangs a second male. We see his butt. There is full frontal nudity of the first man. His penis is visible, albeit very briefly. And then first man bangs first female on a table in the library, thrusting and moaning, although oddly no one else seems to see or hear them. Now, if you guys can't figure it out, I will give the names.
I want to take a shot, but I...
Okay. Do you want me to just give
one name?
Nick.
I'm going to go for it. I think it's... it might not be. Mother.
Okay.
Wild Things?
It is not Wild Things. Okay. First male is Nick. First female is Amy. So Nick and Amy shower together. We see her breasts and his member.
Is it New Girl? No.
Amy.
Nick eats Amy in their bed, though oddly she is wearing her bra and panties. Then Andy is the other girl. Andy bangs Nick. We see her breasts. Amy blows and bangs the second guy. His name is Desi. So Amy blows and bangs Desi. We see his butt. Full frontal nudity of Nick. His penis is visible, albeit very briefly. Nick bangs Amy on a table in the library, thrusting and moaning, although oddly no one else seems to see or hear them.
Waka Waka.
Sure.
Is this a movie that has Madonna in it?
It does not.
Oh, okay, then I don't know.
Okay. I'll give you the answer. The answer is Gone Girl.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next one. This is severe, and I'm probably just going to... This one has an actress name in it, but you know what? I think this might be a little more difficult, so I'm going to give this to you.
Okay.
You know what? I'll do any details that has her name in it last. Yeah.
Okay.
That's how we'll do it. A woman removes her towel. Breasts are seen briefly. One lesbian sex scene with full nudity, more emotional than erotic. Female partial frontal nudity before a lesbian intercourse. A woman stands in a shower nude, but the door windows blur her out.
Waka Waka.
Yes.
Is it Mulholland Drive?
It is Mulholland Drive.
It's the only movie I know where there's lesbian sex scenes in it, really.
Dan takes the lead. Alrighty. Next one. This one has a lot. Let's see. This is labeled moderate. Okay. Severe sexual moments. There are sexual discussions, including strong sexual dialogue throughout the film, all involving teenagers. The plot revolves around sexual situations, though most of the sexual activity is implied.
Waka Waka.
Go ahead, Dan.
Cruel Intentions?
It is Cruel Intentions.
I remember that being a big part of it, where they would just talk about all the stuff they would do.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you know, show, don't tell. All right? What are we doing here, guys?
Basic rule.
Right.
All right. Dan taking the commanding lead, 3-1.
Yeah.
It's anyone's game still. Unless there's one question left,
I
then
was
it's
just
not.
gonna say.
How many we got? 1, 2. We got 2 left.
So we could end in a tie.
I thought there was more. I guess I'm wrong. Oh, because you guys didn't get a couple of them. That's why.
Yeah.
Okay. This one is labeled severe female frontal nudity in several scenes. The body of a deceased, fully nude man is seen in a bed covered in blood. Very brief. During the opening scene, a naked man and a naked woman are having passionate sex. We see thrusting and movement. Both of their chests are visible, as well as the woman's buttocks. Female nude. Okay.
Sorry. Basic Instinct?
It is Basic Instinct.
That movie I have seen.
Okay. All right. And the last one. This is labeled moderate. Rape is a major theme of the movie. In the beginning, Go ahead, Dan.
Crash?
It is not Crash.
That would have been great.
In the beginning, cheerleaders are ogled by a professor. 2 young girls are washing a man's Jeep. Camera zooms up their legs and linger on their butts in little jeans. I guess do they mean shorts?
Mark, what do you think?
Shorts.
Shorts. A girl is shown having sex with a man. No nudity is shown. Camera zooms up a woman's leg and body when she gets out of a pool, and her nipples can be seen through the transparent top. There is a lot of sexual dialogue. This character, male character, takes a shower. As he gets out, we briefly see his backside for 2 seconds and his genitals. Full frontal male nudity. And then this one's going to give it away. A guy and 2 girls have sex.
Mother?
Yep.
Is this Wild Things?
This is Wild Things.
Real quick,
Mhm.
the parental guide to this is far creepier than anything that happens in these movies. Like way more perverted. The way that they describe it.
Yeah. I feel like you don't need to go into this much detail.
Not at all.
Right?
Yeah, that's the creepy part.
It's all poetry, Dan. All those things written by
The rhymes.
All right, that is our game. Dan won. Dan knows his erotic thrillers.
Which is weird because I haven't seen many of those movies. I know of them.
Yeah.
I'm just proud of my Black Swan, Paul.
That was a good one.
I thought Dan was in for it. I thought he was that was the first one out of the gate.
Me too. Yeah, Mark came out guns blazing on that one.
All right, that is our episode. That was a long one this week. Mortal Passions got us talking. Yeah. So check us out on our socials. TikTam Pod on X, formerly known as Twitter, on Instagram, and on Facebook, maybe? Threads, definitely TikTam Pod. Check us out at TikTok. They called us a movie. And if you have a question for us, you want to suggest a movie, throw that over in the old email. They called us a movie, or tictampod@gmail.com. That's where we're at. And if you have 5 seconds, go on your podcatcher of choice, give us a 5-star review, helps us out a great deal. And check us out on YouTube. Just look for They Called Us a Movie. And I think those are all the ways to get a hold of us. So, yeah, that's going to wrap us up this week. The director of Mortal Passions from 1989 is Andrew Lane. So, for Dan Aquino and Mark Myers, this is Anthony Delvecchio telling Andrew Lane, well, You certainly made a movie, didn't you? Thanks for listening to They Called Us a Movie. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to check us out on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. You can also check us out on TikTok at They Called Us a Movie.